The Burden of Glory, a devotional for the season of Lent, produced by Northside Church. Wednesday, March 25th. Our scripture passage today comes from Job chapter 2, verses 11 through 13.
When Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard about all the troubles that had come upon him, they set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him, because they saw how great his suffering was.
To be honest, sickness might have been the least of Job's problems. This man had just lost everything: his wealth and means of survival, his 10 children, his social standing, and the emotional support of his wife, and ultimately his peace of mind. But on top of all that, he was also sick, covered from head to toe with boils and sores. Job was a broken man, sick in body, mind, and spirit, but he had his faith, and he had his friends, at least 3 of them. When they hear about Job's situation, they decide to go visit him. They are moved to go and comfort him, to express their sympathy and care for him. More than anything, they want to be there for him as his friends, even if there's nothing they can do to heal the situation. When they arrive, Job is in such a bad state that they barely recognize him. They immediately begin to weep, tearing their robes and sprinkling dust on their heads. Job's friends lower themselves to his level. They want him to know that he is not alone. And then, perhaps most importantly, they lower themselves again, sit with him on the ground, and they don't say a single word. They just sit there with Job for 7 days and 7 nights, just sitting and being with him. If the story ended here, they would be the perfect model of faithfulness for us, the embodiment of what Jesus is calling us to do when he tells us to look after and visit the sick. Simply by being present, they ward off loneliness and alleviate fear. They shine light into an incredibly dark situation. Of course, the rest of the story is pretty much a handbook on how not to be a faithful friend and what you shouldn't do when you visit the sick, but we'll worry about that some other time. Jesus calls us to look after and visit those who are sick, to sit with them. And that's all that's required to bear the burden of God's glory and let them know God is with them. Who do we need to sit with today?